Good afternoon. It is Friday, and we are going to read Mark chapter 3. And I appreciate y'all's patience with me. I'm feeling a little bit better today. My tongue still feels a little weird, so if I'm talking weird, that's why. Mark chapter 3, a man with a withered hand. Again, he entered the synagogue, and a man was there with a withered hand. And they watched Jesus to see whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so they might accuse him. And he said to the man with the withered hand, "Come here." And he said to them, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to kill?" But they were silent. And he looked around at them with anger, grieved at their hardness of heart, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel with the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. And the next section is a great crowd follows Jesus. Jesus withdrew with his disciples to the sea, and a great crowd followed, from Galilee and Judea and Jerusalem and Idumea, and from beyond the Jordan, and from around Tyre and Sidon. When the great crowd heard all that he was doing, they came to him, and he told his disciples to have a boat ready for him because of the crowd, lest they crush him. For he had healed many, so that all who had diseases pressed around him to touch him. And whenever the unclean spirits saw him, they fell down before him and cried out, "You are the Son of God." And he strictly ordered them not to make him known. Now that's a puzzle to a lot of people, why Jesus would say that. He would heal somebody and then he would say, don't tell them who I am. Maybe it wasn't, hey Sharon, maybe it wasn't time for his ministry to go public. I don't know, but he had a reason for that. Sometimes we just have to say, I don't know. I'm glad I'm making it. So the next section is titled The 12 Apostles. And he went up on the mountain and called to him those whom he desired, and they came to him, and he appointed 12, whom he also named apostles. Remember, there's a difference between apostles and disciples. So that they might be with him, and he might send them out to preach, and have authority to cast out demons. He appointed the 12, Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter, James the son of Zebedee, and John the brother of James, to whom he gave the name Boanerges, which is sons of thunder. I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Andrew and Philip, and Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thomas, and James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Then he went home, and the crowd gathered again, so that they could not even eat. And when his family heard it, they went out to seize him, for they were saying, "He is out of his mind." Wait a minute. Yes, that's correct. Okay. And the next section is titled Blasphemy Against the Holy Spirit. And the scribes who came down from Jerusalem were saying, "He is possessed by Beelzebub, and by the prince of demons he cast out the demons." And he called them to him and said to them in parables, "How can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand, but is coming to an end. But no one can enter a strong man's house and plunder his goods unless he first binds the strong man. Then indeed he may plunder his house. Truly I say to you, all sins will be forgiven the children of man, and whatever blasphemies they utter. But whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit never has forgiveness, but is guilty of an eternal sin." That right there is telling you what the unpardonable sin is. For they were saying he has an unclean spirit. The next section is titled Jesus' Mother and Brothers. And his mother and brothers came, and standing outside they sent him and called him. And a crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, Your mother and your brothers are outside, seeking you. And he answered them, Who are my mother and my brothers? And looking about at those who sat around him, he said, Here are my mother and my brothers, for whoever does the will of God, he is my brother and sister and mother. And then so that's the end of that chapter. Now I will say this, this up here at the top, it kind of threw me for a loop. I thought I'd skip 2 pages. Let me read that part again. It says, it names off the 12 apostles. The last one says, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Then he went home, and the crowd gathered again so that they could not even eat. And when his family heard it, they went out to seize him, for they were saying he is out of his mind. Now, that, as far as I can tell, that's talking about Jesus' family trying to grab hold of him because they thought he had gone crazy. So even some of Jesus's family didn't recognize him. Now, some of them did later on, but I'm sure there were some that never did accept who he said he was, because they're thinking, well, we grew up in the house with him. How can he be the Messiah? But I know the book of James in the Bible, I believe, is written by one of Jesus's brothers. I believe that's the James it is. I could be wrong, but I believe that's correct. But it's easy. That's easy to find. Sharon says, blasphemy against the Holy Spirit seems to be intentional blasphemy, knowing that the Holy Spirit is operating but lying to the people. Yes, I totally agree that's the way I take it. You have to know what you're doing to commit that sin. And I think part of it, the reason it's unpardonable, is because your heart is so hard you won't ask forgiveness. So there's that to consider. So as long as your heart stays tender towards Jesus, that's the main thing. Don't ever go looking like you're trying to. Be careful not to let your heart get hard. What I was saying about his brothers and sisters, some of them didn't believe who he was to begin with. Some of them came to him later on, and some of them may not have realized who he was until after he died. I don't know. But he did have brothers and sisters. I mean, that's another confirmation of it right there. Obviously, they were not full brothers and sisters because Jesus' father is God the Father, but they had the same mother. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes I get turned around. Sharon says she agrees. I get turned around sometimes, and I don't ever want to misspeak. And I'm going to say this again. Anytime I say something, if what I'm saying does not make sense to you or does not sound like it's scriptural, please let me know, because I'm hoping I've misspoken. I want to figure it out, because I'm horrified to lead somebody the wrong way. I don't want to tell somebody the wrong thing. That's not what I'm doing this for. I want to make sure that I'm telling you the truth as best I know it. And if I mess up and tell you the wrong thing, I want to come back and say that was incorrect. This is the correct thing. And Sharon is one of my dear friends, and she's good to help me stay on top of things. But anyway, that's all of Mark chapter 3. I'm hoping by tomorrow my tongue will be a little bit better, so I won't sound like I've got cotton in my mouth. But anyway, thank y'all for joining me. I'm sorry it's so late, but we're doing it. We will be back tomorrow for Mark chapter 4 if nothing happens. So I hope y'all have a great rest of the evening, and I will see y'all tomorrow.